Leading in a changing world is the work that we do in Tomorrow Today. And you've heard from our colleagues already this morning, Graham Codrington and Ray de Villiers. And it's a challenge because, as you've heard from multiple other speakers, we need to rethink our organizations. We need to rethink how we practice leadership. We need to rethink so much of the management processes and systems within our organizations. Charles Handy writes, and he says, there are three ways we can shift perspective or shift the paradigm. The first way in our organization is to listen to the new recruits. They come in with fresh eyes, with new perspective and new ideas, but often we shut them down. And you know what it's like. They bounce into our office with new ideas, and they're very quickly told, well, when you've been here as long as I have, you'll understand. And they try that a few more times and they get nowhere. The second way Handy suggests we can shift paradigm within our organizations is by listening to those who he calls are the tinkerers, the people who are playing on the fringes, asking the unusual questions, experimenting in the sandpits. And we often ignore them, and they're often fringe people in our organizations, and he suggests that we imbibe what they're doing and understand what they're working on in order to help shift our paradigm. The third group, he says, are senior people who we shift their perspective. And because I move a few steps off the stage to walk into the auditorium, suddenly my perspective changes and your perspective of me changes. And he says we don't do that often enough in our organizations. So what is it we do? Well, we help shift paradigms. We help shift understanding around what needs to change and why. How we do that is to try and unlock unthought of questions and conversations around leadership. And we use an adaptive leadership model which suggests that in an adaptive leadership challenge, you need to know what to do when you don't know what to do. Sounds rather ambiguous and a little bit paradoxical, doesn't it? But that is the situation that most leaders today are facing. Knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. And the three ways we teach leadership is, well, the first way is I hold up a bottle that I bought in Thailand called a leadership tonic. And when my eyes saw it, they lit up. This is what I've been waiting for all my life, a leadership tonic. And if you read the small print on the bottle, it promises you courage, virtue, and a whole lot of other wonderful leadership attributes. And although I'm being a little bit cynical, very often when it comes to leadership development, we adopt the tonic approach, don't we? Here are the 5 easy things you need to do to be a great leader in order to be future fit. And we are often impatient for what it really takes to become future fit. We want a quick fix solution, and so we listen and we buy the products and services that give us that quick fix solution, a leadership tonic. The second way is that we can draw up a list of leadership attributes and skill sets and mindsets that are required, and we can orientate our discussion around those. We can look at case studies. We can look at where we can learn. And there'd be nothing wrong with it. That's probably the very traditional approach to learning leadership. That's the kind of approach that you would get in a business school, and we're very invested in the business school model as Tomorrow Today. But then I suggest there's a third way. We can learn leadership for the future. And the third way is emotional. It's disruptive. It's organic. It's emergent. It's risky, and I throw out a lot of adjectives along those lines and slow down and make sure that the atmosphere is created as to this third way. And when it gets to that, the third way we can learn leadership for a future world and the challenges it poses, I suggest is like this. And I sit down and perhaps don't say another word, depending on the time context, for 3 or 4 hours. And watch what happens in the room. I could spend a lot of time talking about the magic that then unfolds, but you see, by sitting down and keeping quiet when you expect me to be a talking head creates an adaptive challenge. Knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. And that is the terrain we explore in Tomorrow Today when we think seriously about what it's going to take to lead effectively in the world that we've been hearing about all morning. Why do we do that? Well, that's a painting that was painted by George Watts in 1886. And he titled the painting Hope. It's a picture, if you saw the full painting, of a blindfolded woman in tatty clothes sitting on a globe playing a one-string lyre, hope. G.K. Chesterton said that should be called despair. Nelson Mandela had that painting in his cell on Robben Island. But I want to suggest that the line between hope and despair is a very thin line. And why we do it and why we're passionate about leadership into the future is that leaders are the brokers of hope. That was the painting that fueled Barack Obama's The Audacity of Hope book and first presidential speech. We'd love to help you be brokers of hope in facing the undoubted challenges and complexities of the world that lies ahead. Thank you.